So if we give up his righteousness at the end of our life, then that's what we deserve. Because he's done pretty much everything else for us. If you can't carry it all the way, then there's nothing for us. And like I said, it all seems like it's easy. It all seems like we should have already been doing this. But we're not. Let's be honest with ourselves. I'm not. It's a difficult thing. And if we constantly think like this, we're going to be so depressed. We're going to be so hated with ourselves. You know? And that's what happened for some time with me. I was like, well, that's why I was so gloomy sometimes. Because, you know, constantly thinking this thing, sometimes it's good to realize and to see. But like, you know, with Proverbs 17 says, if you repeat matters, you separate, right? The same thing with the Father. If you keep repeating within yourself the bad things you've done, the bad things you've thought of, well, then that's what you're going to get stuck on. You're not going to be able to move on. Right? So then, no matter how much we want to beat up ourselves, we can't always do that. Because even though we want to beat up ourselves, even though we have all these things we have to do, the Father still wants to build us up. That's just how loving he is. Right? So yes, introspection is a good thing. It should always happen. But it doesn't mean it always have to be negative. Right? When we're about to come to a brother because they've done a grievous thing, we're not going to just keep going with the bad stuff, right? That's not handling a matter delicately. You know, we say we love them. We say a good thing, some few things about them that are good, and then you lay down the stuff. The same thing with us. We know what we have to work on. We know what we have to look at in ourselves, but we can't focus on the negative. I learned that the hard way because I focused on the negative way too much. Even with myself, that it came to a point that I focused on the negatives with other people. And that's a bad thing. Because once again, expectation comes and then your perception changes. And then before you know it or not, judgment comes. See, it all builds up. It's a cascading effect. If you don't nub it at the root, it's going to keep growing. But, you know, it's a balance. We have to be careful with that. Okay? All right, Romans chapter 5, verse 8. Chapter 5, verse 8. All right, here we go. What it says? It says, but Elohim proves, it says, he proves his own love for us, in that while we were still sinners, Messiah died for us. See, that's proof. No matter how much I want to tell my sister I love you, if I don't prove those things, I'm just lying. You know when the word says, when you sin against one thing, you sin against the whole? Because it's a build-up. Everything connects. So like even though I say to my sister I love her and I really don't, one, that's already a lie. And two, what does it say? Love your neighbor as yourself. And that's my sister, right? So it's a build-up. So we have to be careful. See, this walk can't be easy. Because remember, even for Almighty Yah, it wasn't easy for him to give us his only begotten son. So we can't get lackadaisical. Because I know, and it's a fact, that once human beings, pretty much any being on this planet, have gotten accustomed to something, then that's how they start shaping their behavior. Right? That's why when you spoil a child, guess what their behavior in the future is going to be? Spoiled. Right? So if we view it this way, our whole life, for most of our lives, as being easy, and then we get to the end of our life taking it easy, And then we ask the Father, well, Father, I did this in your name. I did that in your name. He said, what? What are you talking about? I don't know you. And I never knew you. Because we had this misconception that it was easy all along. But it's not, right? At least I know I had that misconception that it was easy. Because, I was born in this. It has to be easy for me, right? But no, it's even harder, Shandon. It's even harder for us because the expectation is even greater. Because the root and foundation has been set for us. And if we are the ones to step away from that foundation, then the punishment is even greater. Because he did pretty much everything for us. Like I said, 99.9%. We just got to take that 0.01. But if we can't even take that, then we deserve anything that he has to give us. Right? It says, woe to those whose wrath of Almighty God comes. I mean, I'm sure we can imagine, right? I'm sure we can. Once we have someone, our loved ones perhaps, and we've done everything for them, and we just ask them this little thing, and they still can't do it. And that makes us so mad. Doesn't it? So then, how can we blame the Father, right? I mean, he's done pretty much everything for us. I mean, like Brother Alex says, he always says, once you're in that judgment, once you're there standing and ready to receive your judgment, he's not going to judge you. You'll judge yourself. Because you know what you've done. You know how you've behaved. And you know how you've viewed this walk. But 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 14. It all comes back down to one thing. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 14. We can't forget the foundation of all things. No matter how much we look at ourselves and see the bad things, there's always hope to change. There's always hope to let go. As long as we're not dead, I mean, physically dead, as long as we're not there yet, there's still a chance. There's still hope to change. There's still hope to become a new person every day. That's why we have to die daily, because every day is a battle. If we're not prepared every day we wake up, then we're not going to be prepared the day we die. We can't just all of a sudden, like, well, I'm not going to do anything right now, but once the deadline comes, I'll do it then. No. Our whole life is a chance. It's not a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. Every living second is a chance. How grateful should we be? Huh? When every second we live is a chance given to us by the Father to become who he wants us to be. But like I said, it's hard. It is so hard to always watch that. But if you want to make it easy, if you want to lighten our burden, well, then we just got to pick up his stake. We just got to surrender ourselves, right? Seems easier. But it says here, what does that say? Let all that you do be done in love. So that means when you breathe, you got to love, right? And how do you show that? Well, breathing, it comes from the Father. That's him letting you do that. And showing love is, in a way, a little bit showing appreciation. I mean, it says all things, right? Every step, every blink of an eye, every word spoken, it has to be done in love. Because if we're missing that, then he's not here. Because beside the Shabbat being his sign for his people, it says, even if you do the whole Torah, if you have not love, it profits you nothing. but it's not easy. And we can't have the idea that it's easy. We always have to keep in mind that everyone and everything has to work out their own salvation, right? With fear and trembling. Correct. But even in that, we just heard today from Brother Johnson, salvation can't be earned. It's a gift. Right? And that's where he comes in, because our Father is a loving Father. He will see our desire to change. He will see our perception of ourselves, of how we look down on ourselves because we keep doing the same thing over and over. He will see that. You know, when we say, my Father knows me inside of me, well, that's a double-edged sword. He could know the most good thing about us. He could also know the most evil thing about us. But if we concentrate on ourselves, on the good things, you know, think on our bad things, to keep it in mind and to always remember when we're about to blow up that it's there so we can keep it in check. That's good. But keep thinking on the good things is probably better. Because what so a man thinks, so is he. So everything connects. This whole book, even though it has, you know, over 1,000 pages, you can put it in one word. Love. So even from the moment time, whatever time is began, to whenever time ends, you can put that into 1 millisecond. Love. So if we put that love inside of us, and that desire can be built up to surrender self, to sacrifice self, to let go of self, and the Father will see that. So we can't worry so much, how am I going to do this, Father? How am I going to surrender myself? I mean, I've asked for it time and time again. But somehow it seems to me it keeps coming back. Well, don't worry about that. He'll handle it. Because one thing we got to focus on only is we have to make sure that the constant thing is inside of us. That unchangeable thing is inside of us. Everything else he will handle. That's why 99.99% is his. We just have to have that 0.01. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.